Welcome to this episode of our podcast about the life of Christopher Columbus. Focused on his facet as a cartographer, in this episode we will explore the life and work of Columbus as a cartographer and his important contribution to geographic exploration at the time. Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa in 1451, was a noted explorer and navigator who made 4 voyages to the New World. But what many don't know is that Columbus was also an expert in cartography, the science of drawing maps and geographically represent the world. In 1477, Columbus moved to Lisbon, Portugal, one of the main centers of exploration and navigation at the time. There, he joined a community of cartographers and navigators who shared his knowledge and experience. From that moment on, he began working on creating his own nautical chart, which would show the most accurate and safe navigation routes. Finally, in 1484, Columbus presented his proposal to reach Asia by sailing west to the Catholic monarchs of Spain. This proposal included a map of his own showing his planned route to East Asia. Although the proposal was initially rejected, finally, in 1492, Columbus received the support of the Catholic monarchs of this voyage. During his voyages, Columbus made several maps that represent the coast and lands that he discovered. These maps were essential for the navigation and geographical exploration of the time and contributed to the knowledge of the shape of the world and the location of its islands and seas. In summary, Christopher Columbus was not only an explorer and navigator, but also an expert cartographer who contributed significantly to the geographical knowledge of the time. His work in creating accurate nautical charts and making maps during his voyages were fundamental to the exploration and geographical knowledge of his time and later centuries. Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast about the life of Christopher Columbus, focusing on his cartographer side. We hope you have enjoyed learning more about this interesting side of the life of this famous explorer.
Hello, my name is Ángela Mercedes Muñoz Ambos and welcome to this episode of our podcast about the life of Christopher Columbus, the navigator who changed the world. In this episode, we'll explore the life and work of Christopher Columbus, the explorer who blazed new trails and changed the history of navigation. Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa in 1451, and from an early age he was interested in navigation. At the age of 14, he began working on commercial ships, soon becoming an expert sailor. However, his great ambition was to find a sea route to Asia by sailing west, an idea that at the time was considered insane. In 1484, Columbus presented his ideas to the Catholic monarchs of Spain, who in reality rejected it. However, Columbus persevered and finally, in 1492, received the support of the Catholic monarchy for the voyage, with 3 caravels, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Niña. Columbus sailing west in search of the new route to Asia. After weeks of sailing, Columbus and his crew reached unknown lands, which would later be known as America. Although Columbus believed he had reached Asia, his discovery changed the history of shipping and opened up new routes and opportunities for exploring and trade. Together, his 4 voyages, Columbus explored numerous islands and coasts of the Central and South America, as well as the coasts of Venezuela and Brazil. His travels also led the creation of new colonies and the spread of European culture in the Americas. However, the arrival of Europeans in the Americas has had a negative impact on indigenous culture and societies. European conquest and colonization had severe consequences for the native populations, including slavery and genocide. In short, Christopher Columbus was a daring and intrepid navigator who changed the history of navigation and exploration. His travels led to the creation of new trade routes and colonies, as well as the spread of European culture in the Americas. However, one must also take into account the serious negative consequences of the European conquest and colonization of the indigenous population of the America. Thanks for attention and thanks for listening to the episode of our podcast about the life of Christopher Columbus, the navigator who changed the world. We hope you have enjoyed learning more about this famous explorer and his impact of the history of navigation.
Welcome to this episode of the life of Christopher Colon and the impact that his discovery of America had in Europe. In this episode, we will explore how the trip from Christopher Colon to America changed the history of Europe forever. Christopher Colon was born in Genoa in 1451 and became a sailor and navigator expert from very young. From an early age, Colon was interested in finding a new commercial route to Asia, sailing to the west. In 1492, Colon received the support of the Catholic kings of Spain for his trip and embarked on a trip that would change the history of humanity. After weeks of navigation, Cristóbal Colón reached unknown lands that would later be known as America. Although Colón he had been as reached Asia, his discovery opened new commercial routes and possibilities for exploration and trade. The discovery of America by Christopher Colon had a great impact in Europe. First, the discovering of new lands meant new economic opportunities. The commercial routes established by the Europeans in America carried to the creation of new colonies and the exploration of resources such as gold and silver. In addition, the discovery of America also changed the mentality of the way in which Europeans saw the world. For centuries, the Europeans had believed that the world was flat and that the end of the world was west. The exploration of America showed that this was not true and opened new possibilities for the expansion of knowledge and exploration. The discovery of America also led to a great cultural exchange between Europe and America. The arrival of Europeans to America led to the dissemination of European culture in the new continent, while the exploration of America led to the introduction of new plants, animals, and technologies in Europe. However, it's also important to take into account the negative impact that the conquest and European colonization had in the native population of America. The European conquest led to severely negotiate an operation and indigenous population which have serious and durable consequences for the cultures and societies of America. In summary, the discovery of America by Cristobal Colon changed the history of Europe forever. The discovery opened new economic, culture, and knowledge possibilities, but also led to the oppression and exploitation of the indigenous population of America. It's important to take into account both the positive aspect and the negative of the impact of Cristobal Colon in the history of Europe and America.